My name is Thelma D. Jones.
And when did you move to Greenleaf, Ms. Jones?
I actually moved to the community of Southwest in the summer of 1976. And at the time I moved to Channel Square Apartments.
Okay. And are you currently a resident of Greenleaf?
I am currently a resident of River Park. However, given the nature of my work as a community activist, I have a lot of interaction with the residents here in Greenleaf as well as the residents throughout the community. I have served on the board of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, which is a civic organization here in Southwest since the mid-1980s. And given the mission of the organization to help to improve the quality of life of all of our residents, I am actively in touch with the residents in Greenleaf as well as the other housing complexes.
Okay. What were your first impressions of Greenleaf?
My first impression coming from Southeast, the Congress Heights area, I was a bit unhappy with the conditions of Greenleaf in the early 70s. However, sort of over time, improvement started to occur. But I would just say that in the beginning, if I had other options, this would not necessarily be a place that I would want to live, in part because of the physical appearance. But in terms of the people here, what they believed in and what they wanted, it's essentially the same thing that everyone wants, regardless of their socioeconomic status.
Okay. Do you feel a sense of community here in Greenleaf? Do people have a sense of community here?
I really do think that people have a sense of community. They enjoy each other through social activities. There's an interaction of family events. When you talk to different people in the community, the Greenleaf community that is, they reference other residents in Greenleaf in a positive light. So I think there is a sense of that it's a good community.
What do you feel could possibly be missing from this community?
Some of the things that I think could be missing is opportunities to help to improve their quality of life, such as employment, high employment with better wages, not just minimum wage. I think being able to have better conditions in the development, because I have talked to a number of residents who complained about repairs that have gone on for a long time. Over time, I have heard people complain about rodents. The ones who are really concerned about the neighborhood have made complaints about unsavory things and illegal activities occurring here.
And what are the type of things that you really appreciate about Greenleaf?
What I really appreciate about Greenleaf goes back to what you just asked me. There's a sense of community. There's a sense of family. There is a sense of belonging. There is a sense that this is where their roots are and this is where they'd like to stay, because there is information that has been released that in the next several years or so that this development will be raised, and that causes concerns to me, because I I am a part of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, which is an organization that was created in 1964 to help mitigate the social tensions as a result of the urban renewals in the 1950s. And so the effects of that have not totally vanished. And so now for residents to hear that we're going to have a repeat of that, that bothers me. When I know that more than 23,000 people were relocated or displaced, that's very sad, because I know if I had to move and I was aware that I have to move, that does something psychologically. But when you're forced to move through no fault of your own and you have to go to a whole new community, you lose what was a part of you, you lose your comfort zone, you lose a sense of your identity. And when people lose that, that affects their confidence, that affects their self-esteem, that affects their entire outlook on who they are, what is my purpose, and where am I going to go to from here. So I don't want to see that happen to anybody.
What do you feel is the relationship between the folks that reside here and the surrounding community?
What I feel the relationship is one of mistrust. And I think it's that because agencies or just the system in general have not been totally forthcoming with them. And when they are told that something is going to happen, it doesn't necessarily happen, or it doesn't happen the way they were told that it was going to happen, or it may not happen. And when you have been lied to over and over, residents or anybody in any circumstance tends to not to believe you. And so if you sort of see a repeat of what's to come, then the mistrust here is sort of rooted in the history of this community. And because we continue to have redevelopment over and over, that affects people when they are looking for the basics. And if they call, the residents here call and say, we'd like a new playground, and they're told, well, we really don't have the funding to do that, or we'd like a new water system, or we'd all like our bathrooms renovated. And when they're told that, well, we can't do that because we don't have the budget, but yet every day they walk out and they see millions and millions of dollars worth of development occurring around them, then it's hard for residents to understand. Okay, a baseball stadium. It's hard for them to understand that, okay, you can build a brand new baseball stadium, but we can't get our bathrooms repaired. We can't get our windows replaced and insulated so that we are warm in the winter time and the hot air is minimized. Or the bath, every time one neighbor upstairs flushes their bathroom, the neighbor downstairs has to deal with that. But they can build a brand new stadium, baseball stadium. Now soccer stadium is coming, and you can't go anywhere up Main Avenue without seeing all of the development that's coming. And that's not in any way to say that I am against growth and change. But what I am saying is that a community involves a lot of stakeholders. And when you have one set sort of advancing and the other set being left behind, that affects a lot of things. That affects the crime, that affects the education system, that affects the housing system. And it affects people's attitude and respect for each other. And one of the things I try to get community members to understand, particularly when crimes happen, regardless of the degree of the crime, when a little child grows up hearing their parents or grandparents saying, we used to have all of this, I remember when, and now they took it away from us. So in their mind, not to say it's right, so if they take something, then it's justifiable to them. You took from me, so I'm taking from you, regardless if the people that they are taking from now were the people that helped to remove them from this property a long time ago. Kids don't rationalize like that. You know, they hear, they took that from us. Mm-hmm. And so those are the premises that they operate on. Or kids, I know from reading some studies, kids start seeing differences and disparities very early. And when they don't have what they feel that they should have, or when they begin to wonder, why don't I have what the other people have, that kind of resentment and attitude manifests itself in all kinds of ways, whether it's anger, whether it's through crimes or what. And somehow society either does not see that or they don't want to see it.
Let me ask you just a few more final questions, and thank you for those answers. What do you think is the solution? What are the roles that residents can play to institute change and to stave off the demolition?
I think the roles that the community, well, first, the role of the residents is to become more active in attending meetings and getting their voices out, really building strong tenant councils, and when things happen, to be there to voice their concerns and voice them in a way that is going to get the message across. Not necessarily always the threatening kinds of ways. You can get your voice across in ways that are not threatening to people. If you continue to show up with your concerns in writing, and when you realize they were not addressed the last time, we're back here this time, then that coalition or that group wants to continue to grow, and then they want to escalate to another level. Okay, the community didn't do anything. Let's go to my city councilman, or let's go to DC housing. And if they don't get answers, and it takes a while for these things, they don't occur overnight. You keep going back in an organized way with your list of concerns, ticking them off, saying, this is what you promised us on this particular date. It is this date now, and today you have only done this, or you haven't done anything. Tell us why you haven't done it. Tell us what we need to do. And if they can't do that, then that's what you have to look at other sources. Residents can come to the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly. We love to try and help all of the residents in our community, and that's one of the things that I am very good about on the board, saying we need to do more. We need to move our meetings around so that they are held throughout the community, not just on this side of 4th Street or this side of Delaware Avenue, because community residents east of Delaware do not feel as comfortable coming to west of Delaware, and then the people west of Delaware don't feel good about coming to east of Delaware. The other thing is, I think if we make a greater effort to understand each other. As I said earlier, regardless of what people's socioeconomic status is, we all basically want a decent home, place to live. We want good education for our children and ourselves. We want a good job that's going to give us a sense of meaning and purpose where we can make a difference and that we are paid fairly. And we want financial independence. And that's basically what everybody wants. And I think that where we have communities in Southwest and elsewhere, that these elements do not exist, I really think that we should look more at wraparound services, that we can't just look at the fact, okay, well, Thelma is living in public housing and she's not working and she has 2 kids and she doesn't own a car, or she may not have finished high school, or she may have finished high school, but how can I take care of my 2 kids if I am not working? So I need a job that's going to give me a sense of purpose, a sense of who I am, and a livable wage. If my kids are of a certain age and they need daycare or after school, then we will need to help identify that. And if the job is way across town and the person has just started work, we have to look at some kind of subsidies for transportation. Okay. Mm-hmm. It could also mean that one of the kids or some other person in the family could have some kind of illness. Having people like patient navigators working with the families to identify the challenges, whether it's dental, medical, or whatever. So I think it's important that society starts looking at challenges from a holistic standpoint, that you don't just find me a job if I don't have daycare, and I mean good quality, convenient daycare. Not a daycare that I put my child in and when I pick him up in the afternoon, there's always a challenge. Or if I'm at work, I'm worried about the welfare of my child because of something that has happened previous days.
Mm-hmm. Well, your answers were very extensive. We appreciate it. Is there anything that you would like to add?
I would like to add that I hope in collecting these interviews that it would truly make a difference in how residents here see themselves, and how it can continue to inspire them to not to give up in what may be despair or hopeless situation. And more importantly, I hope it becomes a tool to enlighten the community about life in Greenleaf or life in public housing, so that we no longer look at each other as I'm better than he or she, or I'm better than they are, but look at it as that all of us in our diversity bring some value added to ensuring the growth and sustainability of a community. And if we feel that low-income people should be pushed out, then that's really upsetting the balance of ensuring diversity in the community, because we all learn from each other.
Can you tell me where you were born?
I was born in Snow Hill, North Carolina, which is in the eastern part of the state. My parents were sharecropper farmers.
Wow, what year were you born?
1952.